Start the recording. All right, five. So, looking at the discussion this week, go ahead and jump right into it. Now, for someone that's doing the notes, you guys have that table open, the review of the details.
Let's see. I have the Word doc, or I have a Word doc open with the questions, but let me see. I didn't see a table in the assignment.
No, it's that like last week where it's in the thing we're supposed to work on it, but then we don't really put it in.
Gotcha. Let's see. It's in the discussion instructions.
Yeah, you don't have to turn it in though. It's just part of what we discuss.
I don't have to turn that part in?
No.
Okay.
All right, I guess we can get into it. So it looks like we're supposed to discuss as a group. What grade would you give Morgan for how he pursued Skyhook and why?
Is this, I mean, to you guys, is this basically saying how he, developed it?
That's what it sounds like.
What does it mean pursued? He's the one that, he's the owner. That would seem like more of like Apple or Microsoft, how they pursued him, but I don't get what it means by him pursuing Skyhook.
Maybe they mean the full business model.
Yeah, I think it's just like from how he started, like how did he pursue this goal that he had of owning his own business and creating it.
So, if that's the case, then I would say he was pretty genius about it. Technically, in order to tap into those, Wi-Fi IDs and make it look like he was a national company right out of the gate and develop that software with Elance for under $2,000 to where now he could approach big businesses. I would never would have thought of that.
Well, he was also willing to take a lot of, I can't even think of what word. But he went and lived in his friend's house. He slept on his couch, and he had a lot of sacrifices that he did as well.
Yeah, both of those co-owners did. They took out second mortgages and maxed out credit cards. He was all in for sure.
Yeah.
A+.
What was that?
I said I'd give him an A+.
I agree. If we're talking about just going after the idea, I feel like his and maybe it goes into this later, but I feel like his marketing of it or what he wanted to do with it was unknown, and I think that's where he got into trouble with some of these other companies is because he didn't really know if he wanted to focus on which part of it. So
that pretty much ties to the next question. It says, if you would have put yourself in, Ted Morgan's shoes, why would the lack of sales? And we pretty much covered it right there. So.
Yeah, I think there's I'm trying to think of how I said it. There was the different areas that he could utilize or he could see, and he could see themselves using the technology. Let's see if I can find it here. It could be used in PC or laptops. It could be used in phones, or it could be used in navigation devices, or it could be used in other electronics. And I think because he hadn't delineated on one specific thing that he could use, then it kind of lagged. Nobody really kind of knew, I think, totally what to do with it.
I think he kind of had that same problem when pitching it to big companies. They talked about no one knew who the decision makers were, and I don't know if he really ever got it in front of the people that he needed to.
Right.
Yeah.
So
the other thing he was fighting with is people were still sold on GPS, and so they still figured that worked. And so I think it was Nokia that invested like $5 billion to buy the company.
It was like $8 billion, wasn't it?
Technology. Now why are they going to now invest in this?
Right.
So I think he kind of ran into a little bit of it was a little bit before his time. This was advanced stuff that he was getting into, and people were still trying to figure out how to understand it. And which is why I think they had a problem with what division of the company should this really be over, which he could have helped that out if he would have fine-tuned his sales pitch.
Yeah.
He was going after instead of such a broad thing. But I think it was just new technology that people didn't really know what to do with it.
With new technology too, like you really do have to go with like the early developer kind of people. Like it's like those people who wait in line for the iPhone, and then there's like the people who get it a couple months later after the bugs are fixed. You have to go after those people that want to have everything as soon as it comes out and are willing to spend the money on it. And those should be who you're selling, not, you know, the people, the old grandparents who still don't even know how to use GPS.
Right.
Ties into like Black Friday. You know, you want to wait days and days for the first one to be in the store. Kind of like what Amber was talking about when the new one comes out. You want to be first in line. So,
Which is why I think it's interesting that Microsoft, you know, Steve Jobs himself made a phone call. I mean, Apple is after kind of being first up, and I think Microsoft had the opportunity and they blew it.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think Microsoft fully knew what to do with it, and they blew it. And now Apple's going to swoop in, and I mean, Nokia blew it too. I mean, they met over 60 times. I mean, give me a break. At that point, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I was like, man, how does that? How do
I mean,
Like
after
you said, they didn't
time?
have the right decision makers in
Yeah.
front of them. Who's going to add this into the cost? Is it going to be, you know, these people, or is it going to be these people, these people? And rather than getting to the highest people, having a meeting with the highest level of whoever, and then they can tell everybody else where it's going to be paid out of. He was low.
once Apple, always Apple. That's the way I see it. Anyway, all right. So moving on, looks like we need to discuss that table, but there was a proposal, an outcome, lessons learned, but Microsoft, E9, and then Nokia. So,
Well, I think we could sum it up all three of just saying, I mean, the proposals were made, but nobody knew what to do. You know, the outcomes were the same on all of them. You know, at least Microsoft came back with a counter, you know, which would have been accepted. They would have had it, but
I don't think they wanted it enough. They're like, yeah, we'll throw this out there. If it works, great. If not, we
Right.
don't really lose much.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I felt that he could have gone back and maybe they could have had some other negotiations. You know, he had given his high and they're coming in with their low. So
Yeah,
kind
meet
of
in the
just gave
middle.
up and go, oh, well, it's out of the things. I thought, well, they may have been able to negotiate something a little bit better. You know?
Well, that's what I don't understand too, is he gave up after one meeting with Microsoft, but yet he would go back to Nokia for 60 meetings. Doesn't make sense to me of, you know, with that, and he got nowhere with Nokia. So,
Right.
I mean, I get that Nokia was at the time, you know, they produced the most cell phones
Yeah, at the time.
at the
Those
time,
things are
but,
still running.
but I mean, after meeting number 3, you know, cut your losses.
you guys remember the Nokia brick phone
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's still there. They still exist.
and the battery and the light up antenna? Anyway,
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I still use one of those. Don't. I'm just kidding.
What are you talking about?
So it looks like what benefits can we get from this technology is we just basically sum that up, and what problem does it solve? So
Yeah, I really like the idea. I know we're pretty rural out here, and we don't use GPS a ton unless we go to the city, and then we get into some really heavy, you know, congested cities, and all of a sudden our GPS isn't working, you know, and we don't know where we're going, and we can't, you know, because it can't triangulate our position because there's too many tall buildings. So, I mean, to have the Wi-Fi enabled to be able to, even in a, you know, inside a building, be able to figure out where you need to go, I really liked it. I thought it's a great idea.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
we use it mostly now. I mean, everybody uses it now. And all
Yeah.
the phones.
Isn't this technology basically in every device now? So,
Yeah.
Well, like they even have like, you know, kind of smaller versions. Like they've created apps where it's like you can find your friends at festivals. So even really small locations, or like there's like the BYUI has an app where it's like, you know, you can find the buildings and you can see where you are. So it's like the same. I mean,
Yeah.
similar technology is all being used. So, you know, you're trying to find your way around and you don't want to use a full GPS system. You need other ways to make it work.
Yeah, and I think too, most people still reference back to GPS because that's the name that people know.
It's like
But-
Kleenex.
Yeah, but they're not using GPS; they're using this technology.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Yeah.
have it for pets. I was looking in it. We have a dog that digs out a lot, and I wanted to know where she was going. So we were looking into pet GPS kind of a thing, but
Yep.
it actually ran off Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And so it had to be Wi-Fi. So as long as she stayed close to houses with Wi-Fi, then we would have been able to track her. Unfortunately, we're in the desert, and there's not very many homes between everybody. So we ended up not doing it, but I was thinking of that this is that software, you know, that will
Yep.
track my dog.
Yep, it's everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Look forward. We got a vote here. So, what strategy option do you favor? Local ads, sell the company, or preserve?
I feel like I know Christina's answer.
Yeah.
It's not.
Wait, hold on a second.
I actually, well, local or sell that company's great, but I actually thought local ads would probably be their best bet with Apple. If they're going to propose something to Apple, I think their best bet is to do the ads and give them, pay Apple. My part was pay Apple like 10% of the ad revenue that they receive if Apple's going to put this app technology on all of their devices.
Yeah.
Man, you're generous.
I think honestly the local ads are good too, because like what I was saying earlier, like you really do need to have like a small niche. It's going to be a niche group that's going to be getting this. So it's kind of like Amoeba Records and Hollywood. Like nobody actually goes there to buy records, but there are a few people that really do. And it's not just for like the Hollywood scene, like they go there to actually get the records and go to see this stuff. So if you're putting advertisements in the small little areas where there's tech geeks going in and like the gaming computer places, those are going to be your best bet.
Absolutely.
That was my vote as well. They talked about how companies like make 2 to 3 times more money off of local ads than they did on just off of regular advertising. And with how many different Apple products there were in the market, I think it told us in somewhere
75, I think I wrote it down, 75 million Apple products or customers in 2008 alone.
Yeah, so that's why I voted the local ads.
Even if you pay them at 10%. Now that's 10% of that 2 to 3 times. So it's not, I didn't think it was that much.
Yeah, I just said give them the app or give them the technology for free and then make your money on the advertising.
They may. I would think Apple may want a little cut of that. I guess
they may.
That's part of the negotiation.
Yeah.
That was my negotiation was, obviously Steve Jobs, and we all know him as, and it stated in there, he's ruthless with people. Obviously I think Steve Jobs will go in saying, hey, you pay me kind of a thing. I've got the, the clientele, the customers, begging me for my products. You don't have nothing. I would have started off with just saying, hey, let's just, you get my stuff for free. We market on ads and, call it good. But if Steve Jobs was adamant about, because it talked about, at what point would you walk away from the deal?
Right.
Obviously, if he wanted, a ton of money, you got to walk away. Otherwise, what are you doing? But, my thing, I said, 5 to 10%, was a good payout. And if he wanted, up to, let's say a deal breaker, if he's like, hey, I want 15, then I would say still take it, because at this point they don't have any customers. And if they can get a deal with Apple, that'll open up doors that they've never had open before. They will all of a sudden become a company that everybody now wants. And so now they could, gather, better deals or whatever with other companies. Even if they stuck to the local ad revenue and just said, hey, we're going to give this software away now to everybody, but Apple's the only one that we're paying, kind of a thing, and open it up. They could now be in, 200 million devices overnight.
Right. And that's just, 1 day or 1 year's worth of devices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said local ads too. I guess maybe I was a little more generous. Mine was like 25% is when you'd walk away. I didn't really know I just kind of was throwing out a number there, but
Yep.
I felt like, they'd get pennies on the dollar for what the company was worth if they sold it, and persevering, they're just going to continue to not find anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is the best opportunity that they probably would ever have is
not
Apple.
making a choice is making a choice.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yep.
I think we're probably around 90% on local ads, which is pretty good, I would say. It's a good number.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this next question, it says, convince everyone in your group that you have the right plan for each of them. Discuss likely Skyhook would to succeed given the following circumstances. So, current team skills, Okay. Resources, business technology. So, what are
I think everybody was kind of on the same with local ads, so we don't have to really convince everybody. So that works pretty well.
Yep.
I think their team seemed to be pretty good. They just needed to focus in a little bit on where to proceed to. But I think if you pick local ads and you go to that direction, I think a lot of that will kind of clear out. And you may have to reorganize a little bit because, like I said, that had not been their focus. And they would have to reorganize their company a little bit. But I think that's their best option.
I was kind of stressed out about the idea of them having, like, them hiring their drivers from Craigslist. Like, man, how does that cover everything? Like, it really bothered. I'm a little OCD, so I was like, they're not going to get everywhere. I don't know.
Probably have some map that as they go, it turns red, so then you'll know the section that's
Yeah.
not or something.
Well, that's what it said. It said it would notify them if they missed a street. It said that people enjoyed doing it, and it's actually super. Like, it's way cheaper for the company to do that as well.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay insurance. They don't have to pay
Yeah, it was
for those people.
a flat fee of $15 an hour. It was an awesome choice. It just stressed me.
And back then, I mean, that's good money.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, especially if you're a high school student or whatever, and that's what you do all day after school or in the summer. Dude, that's an awesome job.
Not if you're driving a truck, but
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
gas was bad back then.
Yeah.
Gas was really bad.
The thing that I was
Right
wondering
now.
is how productive they'd be if they were just getting paid per hour. I'd be like, I'm driving 5 miles an hour,
Well,
gonna kind of cruise.
yeah, but you got to be careful
right,
because
yeah.
they're tagging you, right? They know
Yeah, they
exactly
are.
where you are and how many streets you've been down. So I think they got a pretty good idea of how many miles
Yeah, I bet they
you
had.
need to get done in a day based on where you're at. So
Plus, you can't go too much slower than the speed limit. I mean, that would drive you crazy trying to drive slow. I mean,
Put yourself in first gear and just coast.
you're saving gas. I
Yeah.
wonder if you could do it in a bike.
Just get out and push.
Just throw everything right in the basket of the bike and use the
It'll work
bike.
out while you do it.
Why not?
did you guys see those cameras? Yeah, mount that to a bike.
Put it
Motorcycle?
on your helmet.
You do a little motorcycle or a moped?
a little GoPed? Yeah, gas powered GoPed. I had one of those. That's how I used to roll to work when I was a teenager
So my brother had when he first went to college.
at Burger King. Anyway.
So I thought they managed their resources really well.
Oh, yeah. Was
Yeah.
this the one that they asked him what hotel he stayed in, and he said,
La Quinta.
Yeah.
La
Yeah.
Quinta. Yeah.
I thought that shows it right there, that they were really willing to bootstrap this idea all the way.
Well, yeah, and I think in one of the options it said that he could even, when they talked about persevering, he said he could even cut the labor down 50%.
Cut back all their drivers for a while and try to.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think he knew how to control his resources very well.
Yep.
And lasting the business model. So
That's where I think that he struggled because he didn't really know what he was doing. But I mean, if we're saying let's do local ads, then they're going to need to change their plan just a little bit. It says they would have a significant competitive advantage over other advertising because they would know the location of where those devices were. I mean, and they do that now. Don't when you're on Yelp and you go to a new area? Oh, it's time for lunch. It's 11 o'clock. Here's a new place you can eat at. I mean, it knows exactly what you're doing and where you're at.
Which is kind of scary.
I mean, your phone, if you ever clicked on multitasking, on the bottom it'll say based on your location, this app. And so like I've been at I'll be at the mall and it's like Wells Fargo. I'm like, yep, checking my account.
Yep.
Yeah.
I find it helpful. I know a lot of people find it scary, but I'm busy enough in my life that if it can suggest some place for me to eat, that's great. And let's just go with that. Like I'm good with it.
Yeah, we're to the point now that, I mean, between Google, Amazon, and Apple, they know everything about it, and Facebook.
Yeah,
they
it's
know
like
everything
seriously,
about
they
it,
already know
so-
everything about us, so stop tripping.
Yeah.
Masters of the universe.
I am one of those people that covers my camera though.
Are ya?
I'm one of those people, yeah.
Yeah. No, cameras will take control of your camera. So
That is one thing that I will do. I will cover my camera.
Yeah.
We just took a safety or a thing through the government about Wi-Fi and people taking over your computers, and that's what they were talking about. We don't have cameras at work though, so I'm pretty safe at work.
Oh, yeah, we have cameras at work, huh? Well, we have like little phones, and then like we can call the people in the office, and it's like a little Skype call to the different people in the office. So we'll just be like literally sitting back to back, but we'll
You
be
don't have to get up and walk over to someone else's desk.
No, we're taking out all exercise whatsoever.
We are. We have the same thing on our laptops, but I have it plugged into a couple different monitors, so I don't have it readily available. All right.
Second almost down to the end here. It says, as a group, prepare an agenda for your call with Steve Jobs. So what is your BATMA?
It's like best alternative to not. It's something like, it's essentially like what is better than not doing it at all. So that's like last resort. Like, okay, I have to get this done.
Yeah.
I said my last resort is I would give them up to 10% of the revenue that I made from the advertising would be before I walked away and decided to do something else.
Yeah, and I think you go into, talking up exactly how your product is going to help Apple. Because Steve Jobs already knows that he owns you, so there's not really a whole lot you can do with that. But if you can go in and saying, hey, we really want to be a part of Apple, and this is how we can help you, and we can, dominate the market, and to show that, I'm willing, in return, we want to give you, say 5% of the proceeds of the ads. Obviously, he'll negotiate it up to probably 80%, but it's a starting point.
I would say start for free.
Yeah. No, start with free. I mean, seriously, that's what I said is start as just a straight across, exchange.
Right.
Go from there. But I don't think you leave that meeting, without a deal, because this is your ticket to, like I said before, so much success with everybody else now. Yeah. And when you have 75 million devices around the world, I mean, local advertising, you can make so much money off of that. They would now instantly become, a $100 million company and, a $1 billion company in a few years in no time. So.
Right.
Well, is there any opportunity for Skyhook?
Is there any opportunity?
Yeah, like how big would the opportunity be?
Well, the opportunity with Apple is huge. I mean, because if they can get in with Apple, that's going to open the doors to everybody else. Now, the assumption of that, though, is that Steve Jobs doesn't request that he has proprietary over his software.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
So if that's the case, then that's where the negotiating deal may be, to where it is a straight across thing, or Apple pays you if that's what he's wanting. But if it's just hey, let's put it on our phones and here's the deal, but you can still sell it to other companies. I mean, this is the opportunity that Skyhook's been looking for, and will open the door to them being a ginormous company, in the future.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, I think that covered everything. Is there any questions to follow up with these guys? Or
So, Chris, does that answer the questions you need for the assignment?
Okay, so the first one I'll be able to do, it's as a group decide which strategy Skyhook Wireless should pursue, and all of us said local ads. I'll be able to type up that answer to that one. The next one was, as a group, compose a write-up in a Word document where you convince your instructor that you have the right plan for Skyhook. For each of the options above, so for local ads, sell the company and persevere. Discuss how likely Skyhook will be to succeed given the following circumstances. So, I mean, it sounds like
We got to identify each one, not just pick one, right?
that's what it says. It says for each of the options above.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, obviously, sell the company is you don't need to do anything with your resources and team. You're selling it, you're out. Right? So, I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
Let me get this down
I
here
think
real
they
fast.
would be. I think what they said was, would they be successful? Would they be successful in selling their company?
Yeah, no, I think they could definitely sell their company. It's just a matter of they wouldn't get out of it what
No.
the potential is. But they could definitely sell the company, and then you're done. We talked about local ads and what they would need. I think they have a good team for it. They would obviously need to hire people to tackle that side. They're great with their resources and all that. I think that's taken care of. They would just change their business model to now focus to the local ads. So I think we've got that covered. And then the Persevere, if that's what they're going to do, then I think they do need to change their business model to focus in on something, whether it's just phones or just iPads or, just something. And fine tune their pitch so that when they go to a company, they know exactly who they need to talk to. So I think that's the part that they need to switch if they just persevere and keep going at it. Their team is good, and they're still great with resources. I don't think those two necessarily need to change.
And if you're looking for a percentage, I would almost do something like, I think there's 75% possible of doing the local ads, probably 20% possibility of selling the company, and then only 5% of persevering. I just don't think that that stands a chance of doing much in the long run. I think they'll,
Yeah, I mean, now that they have investors, because they've raised, $14 million. I mean, they've got pressure to do something, and those guys will go in and start changing it themselves if they have to. So, I mean, they've got to get that figured out if they're going to persevere. They've got to come up with that new model, because their investors will demand that they change it and come up with their own stuff. So that's why I think local ads would make everybody happy, because it'll make everybody rich really fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. How would the resources affect all three? We talked about the current team skills.
So I think what Jared just said with like the cash that they've received, I think that definitely affects the decision of persevering.
Okay. Then the business model. I mean, local ads we already talked about. If they were to sell the company, would their business model affect that at all?
no, I don't think so, because they're just getting out.
Yeah.
Their business model would change to we're done.
Yeah, we're not a business.
We're golfing.
Okay, and then we talked about if they were persevering, they would have to change who they're targeting their product to. They would have to start taking into account getting profitable to help more investments come,
Right.
Okay. Cool. Nope, I'm good. I'll get this
Awesome.
taken care of.
Awesome.
Yeah, I got this thing counting down since I have remaining time, so I don't know what that's all about, but
That's all right. We're done, so it doesn't matter anymore.
So for
Oh yeah, what's this next week thing?
yeah, it's like we have to.
Meet with our